because someone said, why would the president nominate Samora Wolokali to serve or to end the tenure of the late head of the entity? Now, if the president nominates, I listened to you guys this morning, the presidency has the constitutional power to do that. So why should you be questioned for that? You know? So if I don't understand, but again, this is Liberia. When it's not good for you, good for another person. That's right. That's right. But again, the deputy speaker is here. The man who is eyeing the highest seat in the land, in the legislature, on the Fonati Koffa.
All right, I'd like to welcome all of you. I want to announce to you that it is on Bana TV, front page, Africa Vision, television, Spoon, Freedom. I see other media colleagues coming in, like the DTV and the rest. We are honored to have in our studio the Honorable Councillor J. Fonati Koffa. Good morning, welcome, sir. It's good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Love your suit.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, let's say happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year to you and your team also.
Yeah. How is
All
life?
the best.
How is life with you?
Oh, it's a great time to be a Liberian. It's a great time to be participating in government. And it's an overall great time to be alive.
Okay. I want to begin this interview. Let's start with a question of 65% from the truckers portion in Bond County. I was told that you visited the area over the weekend. What was the purpose of you going?
Well, the purpose of going was to identify with the victims, to identify with our colleague whose district and constituents it is, to be able to just share the grief and the sorrow of that horrible incident that happened in Bond County. We wanted the people to see that they were not alone, that in fact other Liberians, especially from the government sector, from the legislative sector, stood with them.
Okay.
Let me say thank you for that, and that's my home county. To see a deputy speaker go in there to identify with the people, just as others have done, it is a laudable gesture on your part. We say thank you for that, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
I can remember when you received your certificate from the National Elections Commission, and your colleagues not being elected as speaker, but put the courage, the confidence, and ask you to go and speak on behalf of the will-be 55th legislature. You made a moment of silence for your fallen colleague from Grand Kru. What sort of blow have you brought to the citizen?
Honorable William was indeed a stalwart of the legislative caucus, a stalwart of the party. He's someone who usually gave during his time on earth and during the time I served with him a brief period. Wise counsel, he was calm, he was deliberate in his demeanor, and he is someone who will be missed in the caucus.
And say in that legislative mood, you were also elected for the second term, am I correct?
That is correct.
For
that is correct.
Legislature.
We are going into the 55th on our second term.
Congratulations again on that.
Thank you so much.
And how you put faring back home? What motivated the people to re-elected you? Is it because Fonati is a benevolent person? What is it? Why did you give it a second chance?
I think it's a combination of things. We brought a different style of managing the expectations and accountability of the district. We did indeed concentrate on education, and so we were able to build during a period of time 6 schools. That would amount to about $45,000 per school. That would mean 6 schools in 6 years is $45,000 per year. So we were able to do that. Then in addition to our educational project, which we added on with scholarships, we did the renovation of 3 clinics when you are from rural districts, everything is almost a luxury. So we had to do over 27 hand pumps. And we did a lot of infrastructure work and community development work that our people have valued and concluded that our return to the legislature was indeed beneficial to the country.
Yeah, we have been having this discussion since 7 as it relates to the decision of the president of nominated Councillor Frank Musa Dane.
Sure.
And on the other hand, the Unity Party have prayed for a rate of prohibition. The Supreme Court have scheduled Tuesday, the 9th, next week. You are a learned lawyer, well respected in the society. Let me hear your thought. Former chairman, the judiciary, let's get your thought as it relates to the nomination by the president, the actions from the Unity Party, and the decision from the Supreme Court.
I do not believe that we should take into court that which we ought to settle politically. Unfortunately, the body politic does not lend itself to legal jurisprudence. Here are the issues. President Weah has the constitutional mandate to serve until January 27, 2024. That power given to him in January of 2018 is not abridged in any fashion up until the day of the inauguration of the new president. Now, in the event that an incoming administration, maybe less than 30 days before its inauguration, is faced with an appointing issue by President Weah, I think it's something that people ought to negotiate. Whether the new administration coming in, call the new president, calling the old president, political courtesies as to whether or not the president-elect should have been consulted, or as to whether or not the president-elect and his team, the transitional team, should reach out or negotiate the issue of what appointments should be made during this period. So I do not believe that the court is the best way to settle it. I believe, because constitutionally, the powers of the appointment of the president is not limited by a certain time or certain closeness to his exit from power. So that is a political question. I do not think it's a legal.
So do you think there could be a political settlement of this matter?
Well, at this point, I think every side going to the brink. The President Weah has already submitted the nomination and it went to court. So we will listen to what the court has to say.
Now let's go to the crux of the matter for which we've called you. Your quest to be a Speaker of the House.
Sure.
What motivated to have her come back, and then you want to go one step ahead of the deputy speakership, and what qualification do you bring to this whole portfolio?
That's a good question. So in life, we all seek to advance and achieve. Life is not something that is stagnant. I have developed a government career over the last 10, 15 years. I have served at the Ministry of State, in the Office of the President. I have served in the legislature as chairman of the judiciary and as deputy speaker. When evaluating as to whether or not we should move for the speaker's position, we look at, yes, my qualifications, which I think my government experience, my experience on the floor of the legislature, my experience in legislative leadership qualifies me to be speaker, but also my interpersonal skills and my ability to move across the aisle to develop a consensus building for a common agenda for Liberia. I think those are the things that qualify to the speakership, and those are the things which I aspire.
But let's talk about the numbers. Do you have the numbers? Do it?
That's a good question. We have the numbers. It's about 38 persons that will form a majority vote on January 15th. We believe we will have, when those votes are counted, we will have more than a comfortable majority to be elected the next speaker.
Are you going as a speaker for the CDC, a CDC speaker, or what? Because I'm hearing information of Fonati is desperate for this position, and he can use anybody with a Unity Party side. And people in the corridors of power say he might be taking side with the Unity Party just for votes. So where do you stand on the CDC firmly as his candidate for the speakership, or what's going on?
Okay, so our politics is not divided on ideological lines. There is no pathway that I see that will lead me to act out of the interest of Liberia on behalf of a party.
Okay.
So given that, everything else you hear, but Fonati is this and Fonati is that, it's all politics. The very same people who used to say last year, Koffa is an able legislator, Koffa cuts across, are the very same people now accusing me of being partisan or the CDC. There is nothing like a CDC speaker. There may be a speaker who happens to be a member of the CDC.
Okay.
Anyone who brings up anything other than that is a red herring. That is just pure politics. It's not a CDC speaker. I will be a speaker for the Republic of Liberia who happens to be a seditian. There have been other speakers who were members of parties. There have been other speakers who were members of opposition party. Bana FM forged some good relationships. At the time she became president, the speaker was not from her party. When even Alex Tyler became speaker, up until he joined the Unity Party or the Unity Party Alliance, he was an opposition speaker. It is the relationship you forge between the legislature and the executive that makes the country go forward. It is not the party, because our parties are not based on a different ideology. We all want to do the same things. We all want to build Liberia. We all want this country to move forward. And as long as we have Liberia as our objective, partisanship really doesn't matter when it comes to legislation.
Now, so the second part of the question is, many people think that if you are elected, even though you said the position doesn't matter as where you want to represent Liberia as a person, but if you are elected to the speakership with the number 38 we talked about earlier, and having other numbers coming on board, you are elected as speaker. The thing is that the thought is that you might be stalling some very major bills coming to the legislature, knowing fully well that CDC has lost the election for the presidency. The president has lost. It is an opposition party now after January 22. You might be a stumbling block to the incoming government.
Now the issue of trust is what matters in this.
Well, I think the only people whose trust I need to earn is the trust of my constituents, the people who voted for me. Once I maintain their trust, I think I'll be doing fine. But let me address this. Okay. This is all speculative, and it's speculative against character, right? That is not my character to be obstructive, all right? So you got to say to me, for example, the president intends to introduce X bill, and I told you are going to block it. You see what I'm saying? You cannot name me a situation. You cannot name me a bill. You cannot name me an idea that the president intends to advance that I will obstruct. But let me tell you, one of the things the president said, okay, was that he was going to make corruption a priority. Do you think I would obstruct a corruption bill or a corruption measure in the House of Representatives in the interest of the CDC? Are you saying that CDC is for corruption, so I will block the president's corruption measures? It doesn't make sense. Okay, so I have not seen the actual scenario, and I have given you one specifically. So I would like to see or hear it from the people you're hearing from that I indeed will be an obstructionist. Will I obstruct the president's agenda? No. I was Madam Salif's corruption czar in this country. I fought corruption. So to say the president will bring a bill that has to do with corruption, and because I'm a sedition or because I'm an opposition speaker, so I want to obstruct it, it doesn't make sense. So there is the politics of the speaker election, and then there is the actuality of the speaker election, of the speaker of governance. I am fond of saying, and I've said that on more than one occasion, that the time for politics is over. The time of governing is here. Okay? We went through an elections, and of course this speaker election is part of the electioneering process. But after that, we will have to govern this country together. It is a divided country, whether some people like it or not, whether some people think they should have all or not all. The country is divided. The elections were closed. We have to build a unity team to move this country forward. And that is what I look forward to.
11 days to the election, the Honorable Deputy Speaker, the numbers seem to be in your favor. What if President-elect Joseph Imam Bouaka call on the Deputy Speaker? In our country, it's been perceived the ruling party or
that the president-elect wants to overreach into the executive, into the legislative branch of government and engineer its leadership. I don't think that's his I don't think that's his forte. I don't think that's what he's looking forward to. I don't think such a call will come because I don't see him as someone who wants to intrude into the legislative branch of government, but only as an equal branch as has been established by our constitutional scheme. And again, we will continue to correct the perception you just made that president can have speaker. It doesn't happen. It didn't happen in 2018. Let's go back at that record. In 2018, the United Party came with 24, the CDC came with 21 members. Those of us who were independent or other partisans at the time, along with the CDC, to make the CDC 27 to 24. The two parties sat down and said, CDC, because you have the majority 27, take the speakership. Because we have the minority 24, we will take the deputy speakership. That's how the Speaker Chambers, who was elected by the CDC caucus, became Speaker, and Senator Prince Moy, who was elected by the Unity Party caucus, became Deputy Speaker. This was negotiated. Now others decide that they want to fight, we want to take all, so we are here. But the perception is not correct. Not even in 2018.
If the same situation were to emerge now, that we just made mention of, what happens, Mr. Deputy Speaker?
What do you mean?
The same concession that was reached that brought the CDC on top and the United Party at second. If the numbers stay the same, or the United Party has more number, and then the CDC in this case, and there's a concession, do you think we can go on the same route again?
But we don't. We have the largest part in the legislature.
Okay.
The CDC has 25. The Unity Party has about 10.
Okay.
If you put their alliances there, it'd be about 4 more, so it's about 14.
Okay. Then you have a
I
good
don't
number.
know a legislative body in this world. If you look at legislative and parliamentary history and parliamentary trends, where a minority gets the leadership of the legislature simply because they hold the executive branch of government.
Absolutely.
That is something that just not happened. If you look at it in the United States today, the Republicans hold the Congress because of their slim majority, despite the fact that the Democrats are in the White House.
Even if the Unity Party wants to pay expensive over $1 or $2 million United States dollars and set to you with the deputy speaker post, are there any room for negotiation?
I respect whatever motive may impel anyone, but I cannot hire to betray those who have invested their faith, hope, and trust in me to create an independent legislature for the 55th. And when I say an independent legislature, that should not scare anybody to say it's an opposition legislature. The Liberian people, the reason why 53 lawmakers did not come back, perceive the 54th legislature as a rubber stamp. They have criticized, and many of you have criticized, 4G bills, 5G bills, and workings of the 54th that were not pleasant. They want a legislature that would take the president's agenda, give it a fair hearing and fair use, and cause legislation that will be able to implement it. They want to see the legislators in action, debating issues. Okay, that is what they voted for, and that is what we're going to give them. And no amount of millions will hire me to betray that. We are going to these elections, win, lose, or draw.
Vivian.
I was looking at this issue where you have the Unity Party Rachel Namupun as your contender, and then you from the ruling CDC. On the other hand, you have the numbers. If this opportunity were given to you as the Speaker of the 55 legislature, I want to know how will you make your workings more effective, working with opposition government, how it will look like, and how will you make your workings effective?
I will push you back to my legislative record.
Okay.
I don't have a legislative record of not working across the aisle. All of everything I've done, my FGM bill, my domestic violence participation, my small business bill. If you see the co-signers and signers of those pieces of legislation, they were all bipartisans. Okay, I'm proud to say I went into Honorable Kuhn's district before to participate in his own scheme. he was Unity Party, and I was CDC. I was the deputy speaker there. So I do not have a history, contrary to what people were wanting to make it seem, of just being obstructionist or opposition. I work across the aisle, and the speaker's chair is one that has to build consensus. It doesn't make any good. It doesn't do any good for anybody to bring a partisan obstruction to the process, because if you're obstructing the president, you're also obstructing yourself. If the president can't move, the legislature will not be able to move. It's not a zero-sum game. Okay, we are all in this together. And again, we must erase the perception. Parliamentary bodies are not governed by minorities; they are governed by majorities. And in Liberia, the president don't speak. The president does not pick speakers.
If elected speaker of the 55th legislature, how would you describe your leadership style, and how will it benefit the legislature in terms of transparency and accountability? So,
my leadership style basically is not going to change. I'm a consensus builder. I believe politics is the art of compromise. That's why we don't have dictatorships. I believe that everyone who was elected holds a stake in the national process. So each lawmaker will have his say, will have his ability to put his fingerprint on the work of the legislature. The executive can rest assured that all of what President Walker campaigned on, and I don't see anything objectionable about anything he said during his campaign, will be implemented when they are submitted, will be worked on. They can also rest assured that the oversight powers of the legislature will be exercised so that both sides can understand and the Liberian people can see the workings of the two political branches of government.
Now, I guess there are some accomplishments you made during the time you served as Deputy Speaker, key legislation that were proffered, that was passed by the legislature under your watch as Deputy Speaker. Do you care to comment about that?
Yeah, as I just named, the FGM bill that was introduced by me, the Small Business Administration bill, also introduced by me, co-signatory to several pieces of legislation, including the dual citizenship bill that was passed, and a whole host of legislative measures.
How do you intend to foster reconciliation amongst Liberians, knowing that we have just come from an election that divided our country? You being when you get elected, you'll be the third most powerful man in this country, number 3 man in the country. Do we think that we need a national reconciliation, knowing that the country has been factionalized with 2 parties, CDC and Unity Party?
Okay, so the good thing is the decibel was toned down drastically when President Weah conceded. That is an act that maybe nobody expected, but brought calm to the situation. It's an act that showed that we have political differences, not national differences. We all want the same thing. So because of that singular act of historic concession, we are able to build from there. I say, okay, now we recognize we don't oppose each other as people. We just have different political parties. And when there are political differences, they are settled politically. So therefore, we will be able to foster an agenda that is a national agenda, that is not a partisanship one. So once you have a national agenda, I think the Liberian people are going to buy into it.
let's talk about your plans for survivors of the legislature. Over a couple of years, you have been engulfed with protests from the survivors of Capitol Hill. What are your plans for them?
I do not deny that our staffers have not been treated fairly. I do not deny that there is more we can do. Let me tell you one thing. The payroll system at Capitol Building is appalling. We have to do more. In order for me to hire the kind of staff that I need in my office, I have to take from my salary to augment their salary to get good people. There are things that have broken down for them. There are their transportation system. There's a system of pay when we are called. There are a whole number of grievances they have had. And those grievances will be given fair hearing. If you ask the staffers, our office have always been open to them. We have always been willing to make interventions. But being a deputy speaker, there is limitations to what you can do. Being a speaker, the sky is the limit, and we will be able to work with our rules, orders, and administration. We will be able to then put on the floor a series of measures that again bring our staff into parity with the rest of the government.
One of the reasons why you have huge numbers of lawmakers not returning of Capitol Hill have to do with projects in the district and more other things. The budget come right before you. Liberians are listening to you this morning. They will expect the lawmakers to return with a lot of good things in their districts. How can you assure, what assurance can you give Liberians this morning that they will benefit to the national budget when it comes before you, that your colleagues on your watch, when you are elected speaker, will go to the election in 2029? If not everybody, but out of 73, you can have 60 or 70 returning.
That's a good question. We have proffered this idea that we have to deconstruct and reconstruct the way in which our national budget operates. What do I mean? By right, a bulk of the budget should go towards not government operations, but the people. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where that cannot be the case. You have a large wage bill on the budget. You have other government operations that take priority. So we are saying that we should be able to look within the confines of the budget and take 10% of the budget and apply it directly to districts. Districts are where our people live. The three most important things in our districts: healthcare, education, and youth empowerment. It is within those three confines that we think if you begin with 10%, where we can then empower clinics, we can renovate and build schools, we can give scholarships, and then finally we can provide employment for our youth in their various districts. It is when people begin to see the direct impact of government in their communities. When they see that, you will see the individual lawmakers and their ability to influence things and their ability to lead their constituents will be heightened. When it is heightened, you are correct. Most of them will return. Because continuity is very important to this process, right? Every 6 years you change a lawmaker, you are not really doing well in your constituency. So if an attempt by us to increase the participation of the constituents in the government and the budget process will lead to a more consistency in our legislative body and process, I think that would help the country.
Let me ask you, what's about your plan to implement collective effort? I know the House of Representatives are going to be independent, the Liberian Senate is going to be independent, but you both got to work together. What are your plans to ensure a collective and a productive effort is achieved?
Well, so we don't work and we don't live in isolation, right? We work and live together. Majority of us are friends. When I say friends, I mean we get along quite well. We have our differences that we resolve among ourselves, and I think in so doing, in carving a working relationship with the Senate on the other side, because nothing moves unless both branches of government agree. That is not a problem that have happened before. We have not had two legislative bodies at loggerheads, and I don't think we will. As long as we are able to sit with the president and be able to understand his agenda and be able to pass legislation to support that agenda, I think it will be fine.
Before we go to Vivian, I want to ask a Dole Barrow question, and that is key. Because many of the staffers are listening and Liberians are listening. Liberians have a lot of expectation, and that is why the government right now say that people should manage the expectation. And some of those expectations are maybe salary increment of XYZ, during my solid period 2 term, there was some increment made in civil salaries in this country, and then we have not heard about increment since then. But now you come in as a Speaker of the House and you are elected. How do you influence this? Through a camaraderie between the legislative branch of government and the executive branch of government. How do you intend to work on that? Where civil salaries will be increased, even if it's $5 or $10. Second question is, you are going to the legislature and get a speaker, but then the sanitary condition at the legislature is still to be somehow deplorable. Sometimes no good bathroom. Staffers have to go around the Capitol, around the building to ease themselves and all of those. How do you intend to improve this on your watch?
Okay, so the first thing is increment in civil servant salary. Generally, increments are pegged to two things: performance or inflation. Okay, to the extent that we have to peg certain increases to inflationary tendency of the country, I think we can look at that and we can begin to make a determination of how those increases occur. Plus, we also have to look at what I would rather a bonus system for performance. That is, either during the July 26 period or during the Christmas period, you give bonuses to those employees who meet certain benchmark of performance. That is how I want to look at the pay issue. I'm sorry I missed the second part of the question.
The second part about the sanitary condition of the Capitol building.
That's part of the leadership, and that's part of I think we've already started to discuss with the people on the other side, the Senate, on how we modernize that building. The infrastructure itself is in a deplorable condition. We will have to spend money to improve those facilities, because you do not want a situation where one day there's an event or there's something happening and the entire rotunda fall down on people. And what I'm hearing from the engineers is that building is in bad need of repair, and we will have to spend money to fix it. And the sanitary conditions and all of that.
Let me ask you for key priorities. I know you want to leave a legacy. I've been told that by 2029, you don't want to see yourself returning to the legislature. Let's look at key priorities, legacy you want to leave when you are speaker. Plan for Liberia.
Okay, so we released our program, and we'll be glad to share it with you. The first is what I told you about reconstructing and deconstructing the budget, so that 10% of it is used in the districts. The second thing we talk about is legislative modernization. You know, sometimes I have to sit down with my staff and try to remember what was my position on a particular bill. I think that should be available to us electronically. I think all of our citizens should know how we voted. Improving the infrastructure of the building, improving the working conditions and the salary of the staff, and building all those national programs to land the country smoothly to 2029. I have told my constituents in advance that I will not be on the ballot for District Number 2, Grand Kru County in 2029.
Why?
I think 2 terms is enough.
Okay.
Social challenges, health, education, security. You have to have the ingredient of Liberia on your watch. What are your plans?
Well, as I told you, it goes to the first prong of what I just said. Ensuring that in the districts, those things are directly impacted. So, you know, in your communities, you've got a lot of clinics. You know, I don't know how well regulated, and then they get to critical, people go there for treatment, get to critical stage, and they all rush to JFK. So we have to make sure the healthcare delivery system in our communities are sound. You got a lot of schools in your communities. We don't know what kind of education they are providing to our young children. I am not impressed by some of the things I read, even coming from people with high school education or college education. I'm simply not impressed. So we have to spend some money improving these systems, okay? And then there are a lot of youth around here who are jobless, okay? Even in the great United States, there was something called the Great Society. Whenever societies are depressed in terms of jobs, government create jobs, okay? So people can be able to feed themselves and their family. It's not sufficient to be able to call your lawmaker and say, oh, my rent expired. We must find a way to get you employed in your community so you can be able to afford your own rent. So those are the kind of things we are talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Now, so how do you respond to questions, concerns by Liberians, some of them, who are they are insinuating that he would be a remote control speaker by the outgoing President George Weah, being your kingsman, he's living power, and you will be like a walking to his tomb when you are elected as speaker.
But George Weah did not try to remote control me when I was chairman of the judiciary. He did not try to remote control me when I was deputy speaker. How will he remote control me? And what are the mechanisms?
The situation will be different, Mr. Speaker.
What are the mechanisms of that remote control? Oh, so he couldn't remote control me when he had all the powers as president. He would do it when he's not a president. That is one of the rare hearings of the political weak and lazy side on the kind of arguments they make in order to influence. The good thing is this is an election of 73 persons. Those 73 persons are sound individuals voted by their constituency, and they will not buy that remote control thing. It doesn't work. It sounds good for those,
who are
saying it, but practically it's nonsense.
How do you intend to foster collaboration and cooperation amongst your colleagues in the legislature?
Oh, as I said, one of the things we will do, we will not prevent anyone from using the floor as a means to communicate. It's just simply not my style to try to prevent people from talking, even if they disagree with me. It's more of my style to call people to the office and let's see how we resolve disagreements so we can move the country forward. I will continue to use that approach.
How do you envision to strengthen corruption, the rule of law in our country on your watch?
Okay, so that's a very good question. One of the things we can do at the legislature is we can invoke more of our oversight powers to understand how the budget is being implemented by government agencies. Okay, we call them in, we find out what tools they are using to implement their budgets, what tools they are using on the anti-corruption front. We have to also work in our oversight powers with the LECC, the Internal Auditing Agency, the General Accounting Agency, and all other integrity institutions that have been constituted. We have to continuously review their mandate and review their performance. And in reviewing those performance, those issues will be highlighted.
A lot of good articles have been written about a lady at JFK who happened to be your wife. She seems to have a lot of experience in that area, most especially when it comes to the recent drug explosion. You have also made some good contribution to that area as well. What can you say to that healthcare facility?
Well, I think if my wife were running for speaker, she'll get 73 votes. I sort of envy her. My wife is a professional anesthesia provider out of Johns Hopkins in the U.S., the University of Maryland in the U.S., the University of North Carolina in the U.S. I admire her because she took the singular step to waive $250,000 in annual salary to come to Liberia to work at JFK for about $24,000 or so. I may get my math wrong. It takes an incredible person. We have a lot of Liberians in the U.S. with that kind of those kind of professional capacities who will tell you that I cannot afford to move that back to Liberia, even though I want to contribute. She did not hesitate when she realized that indeed I have been elected, and my frequent trips back to the U.S. to put the family together, or to keep the family together, was not only possible. She resigned. She came. We were blessed to have President Weah ask her to be the deputy at JFK. She's an incredible person, very smart. That's the other side of me, the better side of me, I might say. So I'm grateful for the articles. Hopefully she will not run for the speaker, and then we'll have a challenge in the family.
I think we'll have the time to get out of the public. But we can come in and out.
Let me come in with this because we are women, and so we at times we not just forget. So you have the numbers already. You let's say if you become a speaker, you will be speaking for Liberian at large. So my attention has been drawn to a certain group of people, the women. So if this opportunity is afforded, what is on your mind for the women that they will forever remember you for in history? That Speaker Fonati Koffa did this for women, and today it benefits us.
Okay, so we'll deal with the men later.
I'm not adding the men. The men are here; they can talk for themselves.
If you look at my track record in the legislature,
okay,
I've always stood firmly with women on women issues. I was the one who introduced the FGM bill, which some of my male colleagues were just totally against. I was instrumental in reaching a compromise for the domestic violence bill that was introduced in the legislature at a crucial time when it became stuck on the floor. My office is my senior staff persons are all leading with women. And I have stood with women on many different women and gender issues, and I will continue to do so.
We'll open the telephone line.
No, let me just ask this question. As I said earlier, the expectations are so high. And when I listened to what the former vice president said, who is now president-elect, he talked about reaching out to investors who come to Liberia. And he thinks that government cannot provide all the jobs for Liberians, and that is a fact. Now, how do you intend, if you are elected speaker, to ensure to reach out to investors so that Liberians here will be demotivated working in government? They can work for the private sector and they get a good salary. How do you intend to harden your efforts with the executive on this one?
Okay, so from a legislative standpoint, we will be dealing with legislations that make it easier to do business in Liberia. But I think one of the first things we need to return to is to ensure that Liberians are not spectators in their own economy.
Absolutely.
But make it easier for them to do business. I think we need to empower LBDI. I think we need to develop a system and a scheme whereby Liberian small businesses are able to get loans that are monitored for them to be able to develop their businesses, to hire other Liberians. So I think we need to do those things first for Liberians. Then the other thing is, we should make it easier to have visa on arrival programs, to have investors being able to come here and not meet a multitude of bureaucracy and roadblocks to their investment here in Liberia. I think we need to improve the climate. We can do that through legislation. We can do that through various invitations to extend. We can do that by showing people that Liberia is indeed somewhere where you can do business. Most things capital like a good legal system, and capital like the ability to move back and forth. I think we have the ability, because we use the US currency, to have capital move back and forth. I think what we need to do is work more on our judicial system, so that when a businessman has a problem in the system, he can feel that the courts will give him a fair hearing and fair judgment. Besides that, whatever the bureaucracies are at the National Investment Commission or within the government, we need to streamline them to make sure businesses thrive in this country. Because I agree with you, at the end of the day, it's the businesses that should be creating jobs, that should be employing more Liberians. But I think we should start with the Liberian businesses.
Now, this issue of Liberians not being spectators in their own land has become a political cliche in Liberia, that every government that comes, people say this, and Liberians will be this, and then there are some laws on the book that has to do with retailing of some commodities by Liberians exclusively. But now we have foreigners involved in those businesses. Over the years, Liberian businesses have cried and complained that it should be taken from them, but that has not been done. And it still becomes lingering on the book as a problem for many of these business people. How do we intend to address this one, Mr. Deputy Speaker?
I agree with you. Maybe we need to indeed put more teeth into the implementation, and we can say with the executive to make sure it happens. But also, there are Liberians that will be fair with each other. There are certain fronts, okay? Sometimes when you go to try to clamp down on a business that should be exclusively Liberian, a Liberian shows up and says, it's my business. And that's not actually his business. So how we get to ensuring that Liberians are not spectators is how we implement, because Liberians are to be fair to themselves. The second thing is not to disparage any of our foreign business partners. We have to reduce the foreign business lobby within the country to make sure that indeed they give space and allow to give space. You can't do without them. They provide most of the warehousing, they provide most of the inputs into the country. But retailing those inputs, I think, are things that Liberians should be good at, and Liberians should be caught for them. And it's going to be on how the implementation is. And we hope to work with the incoming administration to ensure those things are done.
Now, Mrs. Deputy Speaker, finally from my end, as we go to Winston to issue, I will get some callers coming in. There are reports that both sides in the speaker race are giving inducement to their colleagues for votes. That comes to be with a play whatsoever. whether it's the Fonati Koffa side of the coin or it is Mr. Richard Nagbe side of the coin. Both sides are providing money to their colleagues to influence our votes. How do you respond to this, sir?
No, I'm not aware of that. What I am aware of is you're not going to call 40 colleagues to a meeting at a restaurant and expect them to pay, right? So you'll foot the bill for that. Okay. Those are the kind of things I'm aware of. I think if you're going to call a meeting at a restaurant, you have obligation to pay for that. I'm not aware of a pay for play, and we are always now focusing on ensuring that that there's no interference, either financial interference or executive interference in our leadership election.
Just two concerns from my end before we get telephone lines. The issue of equal participation. I've spent more than 10 years covering the legislature. The speaker's agenda. There have been some critical issues raised by your colleagues. The outgoing 54, Representative Yeke Koruba, he had accused the current leadership of denying this communication being placed on the agenda and more other things. How can you show the plight of your colleagues? How do you handle them? That they're going to have equal opportunity, the right to freedom of expression, debate legislative issue. Now, finally, for my end, what kind of speaker will you be? Set up capital here, wait for your colleagues to come to session, or we'll see the Honorable Councillor Fonati Koffa in the various districts to show that your colleagues are doing the right thing. So honor your watch. Though you don't have interest in 2029, but you will see more than 80-90% of lawmakers going back.
Okay, that's a good question. We got to look at the legislature again as the first branch of government. Well, a part of the government, right? When it comes to the issue of being a speaker, I think you got to look at my own history when I preside. I think if you go back to Honorable Koluba, he will tell you that there was never a day I presided in which Honorable Koluba was denied the ability to speak about any of his communications on the floor. In fact, there was a day that Honorable Koluba did co-preside with me at my invitation. No, I do not believe the job of the speaker is to sit at the gavel and run the legislature. I think part of that is to also do the monitoring and evaluations of what the colleagues are doing in the various districts and offer solutions and offer legislations that will help that process. I think actively being involved with the colleagues in their districts and in their work to enhance the level of work they are doing, to enhance their service to their constituents, is also the job of the speaker. That's why the speaker is giving the leverage, and that's why he's giving the deference that is given to the speaker's office. And that should be returned in ensuring that the members are well served in their various districts and their various responsibilities.
All right, let's open the phone lines here for Liberian 0777 985 985 0777 TD 985. Let's take a few calls. Good morning, welcome. Just lower the volume of the monitor, please.
Yeah, thank you for your wisdom, and thank you to Jana Gracie Stadium. This is the boss of Albert Brooklyn, and I join you from the grant of the legislature Republic of Liberia. I'm listening to the evidence incoming speaker of the 53rd National Legislature. He spoke very extemporaneously. You listen to him, he laid out all the platform and projection, how he's going to lead the people of Liberia through the National Legislature. We just want to call on our colleagues for the Youth Party. The strong arm the CDC-led government controlling the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. I think this time they have come with the sake of change and rescue. So you cannot come to take the leadership of this country and then you want to control the legislature and judiciary and executive as well. Nobody cannot be president, people cannot be speaker, and you have the president elect Joseph Mafaka be president of our country. That means you are not come to rescue anything. Council Fonati Koffa is quite across the act. He is here to represent his people, not the CDC. So I want to say, congratulations in advance, Council Fonati Koffa, on that for the 53rd legislature. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly. Let's hear from this one. Roll the radio, please. How are you?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, Wisdom. And then I'm busy. And good morning to the honorable lawmaker in the house. And if you can speak up, it is just to tell us to not calling for district number 15. My question has to do with, I want to know from our honorable speaker, for the past 6 years, I wanted to know how many concession agreements that was signed in the 54 legislature. I want for you to please tell the elaborate people for us to know. And my second point has to do with the humble bread deal. So humble bread deal was signed in 2018. But up to now, we are not hearing anything about humble bread deal. We will start political area. It is a fight for each country.
Okay.
What is the problem?
All right. Thank you. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning to the mayor of the podcast. I'm Terry to my neighbors, and I'm trying to conversation for the headquarters of the Better Bureau for the most of the people that have been this morning. And I followed the narrative for the Federal Speaker. And I think it's just necessary of a high return to reform the national legislature. And I think these are people that should be given the opportunity to serve at the democratic stage, especially at the legislative processes. And one of the things you spoke about reforming into what is proven a lot of rule that was started at the legislature. I think that is best you can think about leading the process because the scope of communication, it is not about the ruling process, it's about who has the experience, about who understands the proceedings, about who has the right, the ability to lead the secretary. I think that the one to be trusted and to watch it. Thank you for putting in the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Let's take this question. Hello. Yeah, morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Adi, who's a professor before son of KOK.
Okay.
And I want to call this morning from Nigeria, they feel my photo. I want to speak morning to the incoming speaker, Alice Brown. At this point in time that we wish in this country, we need people at that position to give this country the leadership that we need because having a government elect with a speaker that cannot be done properly because the also be like the executive will be controlling the legislature. But we are calling upon my honorable representative, the honorable Kekula Kamara to see the way that he can put this mayor as the next speaker of the executive legislature. Honorable Speaker, I want to congratulate you in advance. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you so kindly. Let's take this question. Hello. Yeah.
Let me say good morning to the panelists. And let me say good morning to our husband, the Deputy Speaker, incoming Honorable Speaker. Let me say thank you ever so much. William W. Good for the speaker. It's not going to be cool about the working on this honorable man.
Okay, let me hold you there. Representative Dixon Wulawi Sibo is live on the line. Good morning, Honorable Sibo of the Electoral District 16, Moserato County of the CDC. Welcome.
Did I hear you say I'm live on the radio?
You are live with the Deputy Speaker.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Okay, go ahead. Deputy Speaker is listening.
Oh, no, I think the Deputy Speaker has been making a point. I'm ready to the first part of the show. And again, I can say for the record that he is on the path of becoming the Speaker, not because he's Fonati, because of what he brings to the table. Every time I'm calling Fonati, he corrects me a little and says, same honorable Fonati Koffa. But the point is, the relationship the Deputy Speaker has brought to us, the relationship, the level of leadership he has brought to the table, even as Deputy Speaker, it suggests to us that as the Speaker of the 55th, he has got the energy, the tenacity to bring the independence and the balance we want with government. I can tell you for sure that based on the record he has set, even as Deputy Speaker, and the camaraderie he has built amongst us as colleagues, he does not see himself as leader of the house. He sees himself as a co-equal who's going to be bringing real dynamism to leadership in the capital. And so I just want to say for the
numbers, for the look of things, you have already been baptized with the spirit of Fonati Koffa. What's about others who have not baptized? How do you win them over?
I would like to read what you just did. I'm not baptized into the spirit of Fonati. I engender, we were the progenitor of the spirit of Fonati, so I'm an integral part of that. I'm not being baptized.
Okay.
But let's go to the real issue. The real issue is, again, there's a number game, and as opposition generally, we make up the majority. And from that majority block of opposition, we see the spirit of Fonati as the leader, and that's why we are supporting him. What is today if elections were held and we fell short of the number we want with our portion of the pool? I can tell you that for a fact. As we speak right now, we are not letting our feet off the pedal. We are taking into a lot of us independents and other people from other parties who have not decided yet, because we want to make a resounding win and a landslide. And so again, when you talk about the number issues, we are comfortable, we have the lead, and we're going to win.
Thank you so kindly. Representative Abu Bana Kamara will also make some contribution, but let's take this one as well. Good morning, welcome. Yeah.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is my sister. I'm calling for the issue of food. I'm especially for the citizens in that for the speakership.
Okay, Moise, go ahead.
Yeah, we call them newspaper to appreciate you so kindly this morning. And I want to appreciate you so kindly because so kindly. You see, this song when the night is there, no reaction now. So people are just Koffa will be there for the fight because they will let the world when it's too fast, they will go land and see how that will wait around our Lord. They're calling it the one.
Okay, thank you. I got a lawmaker on the line, Representative Abu Kamara. Good morning, welcome, sir.
Good morning, Wisdom Bloody.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wisdom Bloody, you just listening to the interview. It already suggests to you that the House will have incredible leadership. This is not about ourselves. It's about the people of Nigeria. Listen to me, I said speak for already. I'm not using my words. I'm saying it in capital letters. Big. Fonati Koffa have done well over the years. And all our colleagues know to our conscience. Let all partisan politics aside. We're looking at a bigger picture, Liberia. And I will not even be surprised, trust me, that Rete Kunze will vote for Fonati.
Really?
Because he understands.
When people like you are chief lobbyists of the 54th legislature, when people like Representative Kamara making a statement, mean that you're making some moves.
Oh, yeah, everything on the legislative politics is unconsiderate. Trust me, everybody knows the workings of Fonati. We need not to blow the horns. Politics, we can cross tunnels to get these done. Special votes. With votes, trust me, we are in a comfortable lead. Very comfortable lead, and without bringing hatred to this process. Like Fonati as a person, he has a different spirit and character. He's going to present legislative agendas, and everybody will be equal on that floor. Look at what he just said. Follow the interview, I will not repeat that. You know, those are the kind of people who want to step up Liberia. This is governance time. This is now partisan politics, right? People seeing running in on the other side because they don't have the number, but you if you're saying 16, if you're saying 20 on the side, you should be laying the platform and telling the people, making a case that legislators will understand and be able to make a decision. But I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, we are prepared and we're waiting, we're going on there, we're engaging, literally accepting.
Thank you so much, Maserati County District 15 Representative Abu Bana Kamara. Let's take another one. Hello. Good morning. Okay, slip off. Let's get this one. Good morning.
Good morning, Wisdom.
Yes, sir.
And let me say good morning to Grand Kru and member of the Deputy Speaker. Well, I am the Speaker join you on this 11 this morning. Well, I listened to the deputy speaker interview, and I want to take a part in it. Well, they talk about when we win the speaker position, which of course will not happen, that not the part the same of the current legislature.
Let me ask you, you got voting right there?
You have voting right there too. I don't have.
No, I'm asking you. I'm not the one saying that you said you will not win. You have voting right there.
I am quoting the deputy speaker. Right? What
you said that you will not win?
You will not win the speakership. No, let me tell you myself, please. Well, he was there for 3 years as deputy speaker. And the colleagues went for election. Almost half of them. All those are retained majority from PVC. When those go for other parties.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello?
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Tony Weekend, and I call you from Bana this morning.
Okay.
Let me just thank you so much for the show, and also thanks to the speaker. Well, I'm a resident of District 11. There was a time that even Richard Cohn was struggling with his re-election. I was there when the deputy speaker at Senate program, where you saw thousands of women that came out. And this deputy speaker, despite Richard Cohn being a Union Party lawmaker, he was there. At that time, every rainfall, I saw this man sitting down waiting for a just for that program to start. In the end, he's a contributor to the success of that program. I think.
To buy slip off the line, I didn't cut you off. Hello?
Yeah, good morning, Big Brother Winston.
Yeah.
And let me say a pleasant happy new year to you and the presumptive speaker of the legislature, Honorable Fonati Koffa. My name is Joshua Porgy, and I joined this national conversation this morning from Nikutown. Winston, thank you, and let me appreciate the guests in studio. Winston, when you listen to the kind of basis that the presumptive speaker has laid in terms of how he intends to work with the Liberian people, having assumed the position as speaker, it tells you clearly that Liberia as a country is going to another level. Winston, you witness and you are a testimony to the national election result that this country is split down the line. And so for a balanced government, we need a speaker such as Honorable Fonati Koffa, who have the experience for the legislative flow and self-positioned in the House of Legislature before to assume that office. Thank you very much.
Thank you so kindly. Let's take another one. Hello?
Good morning, Winston Blyer. Let me say good morning to the
Hold on. My name is Blading. Blading, not Blind. Blading.
Okay, Winston Blading.
All right.
Sorry, there was another WhatsApp. Good morning, and let me say good morning also to the rest of the panelists on the show this morning. I'm Jeremiah Ellison, the chairperson of the Chapel and Rapid Response Team for Koffa's speakership. Let me say good morning absolutely to the next speaker of the 55th legislature. And Honorable Councilor Fonati Koffa has demonstrated fearless leadership. He possesses the record experience. He has the understanding, the legislative understanding, knowledge, and proceedings. He, the 55th legislature as speaker. And he stands as an individual who will bridge a gap in ensuring that our governance system is balanced and ensure that an independent legislature is established. It is to that end that we have decided as left-minded intellectuals and activists will support the bill.
Okay.
Let me say this to him. We know he has a number and he fully believes in leadership.
Okay, thank you.
On January 15th.
Thank you so much. Take final 5, then we wrap it up. Hello? Good morning. Okay, hello?
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Andy Best, and I'm quite the chairman for the training of the speakership on the Fonati Koffa.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Let me appreciate for the discussion this morning. And if we are not going to extend my looking for the chair Fonati Koffa, you see, the issue that I have with the Koffa speakership is a view that are young people in the legislators already because they bring to the table an experience in the political power. So as they say, we are going to offer our lawmakers to ensure that Koffa being elected as a way of redrafting the next power, where he met and explained the vision he needs that they will move forward. As we speak right now, the Kennedy brothers are putting out a new decision waiting for evaluation because they are aware that they are already one decision. They thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. 4 more to go. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Grammy Jr.
Hey, Tongole Jildu, the purple defender.
Yeah, now good morning to Mr. Jala Curfew and ERBC and our NATO Deputy Speaker Fonati Koffa. These are a grand fact that even outgoing regulators and incoming regulators live in the wasteland of the studio. This is now elected wisdom. We have to questions our society. Because wisdom, we do a comparative analysis between Fonati Koffa and the men who want to be speaker. People say, let us try to let Fonati Koffa because he has worked in the country that the legislature has done. So, let my legislator tell God, President Abu Bana Kamara take the lead, President Sisi and my roots Kano County, whenever I see all the legislators from our county, the representative of the president, behind the West President of the Nuclear and the Oral, they never happen. What they did now is the letter would believe that the country is in a pass.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. 3 more to go. Hello. Good morning. I'm okay. You? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. 2 more to go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
This is Ibrahim from Maratana,
Okay.
and I'm calling for electoral district number 60.
Go ahead, sir.
County.
Go ahead.
Thank you to Jara, thank you to Vivian, and of course our incoming speaker, Councillor Fonati Koffa. Thank you for the fires and the deliberation. You know, leadership comes with experience, it comes with wisdom, it comes with everything else. This deputy speaker of the 54th legislature has carried out every other single thing that requires a better leadership. And I've been confirmed by my district representative, our district where we see will stay with me and will have like-mind lawmakers and brought the 73 electoral district that makes for the Republic of Nigeria. On the 50th, let us go all out to talk to our people, our legislators, like we have done for hours in our district,
Okay.
to ensure that on that 15th of January, our Koffa is unconditionally elected as our speaker.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, at the level of we will be there because we are into it on our head. Thank you very much.
Thank you so kindly. Final call right there. Hello.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Matthew Bryan.
Okay.
Spokesperson for the legislative teaching.
Welcome.
I call you as an experienced legislative reporter for over 8 years. That Koffa is best suited, experienced, and had the international call to be able to reconcile the House of Representatives in the 55 legislature. One of the issues of Koffa that gained the attention of the international community is the bill on the genital mutilation, the female genital mutilation, and the privatization of Nigerian businesses. I'm thinking our lawmakers for the 15 electoral districts need to see reason to elect an experienced lawmaker influencer on Fonati Koffa, who happens to be a reconciler, and he brings about geopolitical balance to the legislature. Thank you so much.
Thank you so kindly. We'll go back to the Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think there were a few concerns raised. We just respond to them, then we wrap it up. Welcome, Honorable Deputy Speaker. A few concerns raised. I guess you take note.
Okay, thank you very much. One of the callers talked about Hummingbird. The Hummingbird bill was passed. I'm not sure what the nature of the Hummingbird working at this point. There's nothing I've seen from them. We will inquire further and inform you. I think that most of the others, I'm not sure if there were specific questions. Most of the others, as you can see, if you were taking a poll of your callers, there was only one name. The rest of the callers were for. But let me point out something that is very important that you should take notice of. Majority of the average Liberians, when they call in, the most talk show hosts are for Fonati Koffa, employing their representatives to make this vote. It's a testimony of the record we've set, not in the only in the legislature, but around the country. Even my opponents will tell you privately, what they will not dare say publicly, that indeed they have worked with me and they believe in the record and the pace that I have set. So it's only Liberia sometimes things are about politics. They are not about reality and what is right for the country. So people will play that politics. But I will tell you this, at the end of the day, in the legislature over there, I believe in the people coming in the 55th. They want several things. They want to make sure the legislature does its work without interference. They want to make sure they serve their constituents well, and they want to make sure they are returned in 2029 to the legislature. And most of them, by far, when they look at those three goals, you will see that on January 15th, they will elect me as the next speaker.
John, anything else?
I think we have just, as he stated, many of the callers were just complimenting him for, commending him for the work he has done in the legislature and the need for him to be elected as speaker. So he has addressed those concerns, and then we have for the day. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for coming, unless you want to say something that we didn't ask in the interview that you have on your mind to say to the people of Liberia.
No, never answer an open-ended question from the